Welcome to Shon's Stories. Reading, singing, laughing, learning, growing. Shon's Stories. Check it out.
Hey friends, today's story is called I Am John Lewis by Brad Meltzer. I am John Lewis. What should you do when you see something that's unfair? Should you ignore it? Should you walk away? Or should you march toward and try to make things better? Even as a little boy, I liked making things better. On our farm in Alabama, we'd fill a bucket with rain to water our vegetables and flowers. I loved making things grow, raising things up. There you go. On our farm, we raised cotton, peanuts, corn, and my favorite, chickens. No one else could tell the chickens apart, but I could. We had Rhode Island Reds, Bantams, and Dominiques. They each had their own personality, and though my family thought it was strange, I even named a few. Come on, Lil Pullet. Lil Pullet was my favorite. She followed me everywhere like a pet. Big Belle once fell down a well. We couldn't get her out for 5 days until we lowered down a basket with breadcrumbs. Darned if she didn't climb right in. Chickies! My parents told me to just feed them, but I'd always talk to them first. When I was 4 years old, an uncle gave me a Bible. By 5, I could read it by myself. At night, I'd pretend the chickens were my congregation. I was their preacher. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God. They'd squawk at first, then settle down and get very still. To me, they seemed so vulnerable. I gave them love and they loved me back. That love and compassion is something I carried into the world. Yet, life wasn't easy. When I was growing up, black people were treated very unfairly just because of the color of our skin. If you were black, you couldn't sit next to a white person on a bus, use the same water fountain, or eat in the same restaurant. We can't sit inside with the white people? Just enjoy your drink, stay out of trouble. Even as a kid, I knew it wasn't fair. Here's the white school with the new playground. Here's my school, no playground. When I was a teen, the laws changed so that black and white people wouldn't have different schools or be treated unequally. I was so excited. I bet they're gonna fix our school. But for us, nothing changed. Leave it be, stay out of trouble. My parents didn't want me making waves. My grandmother had a different approach. Back then, if you were black and a white person came walking down the street, you were expected to cross to the other side. You better move to the other side. Thank you, but I'm fine where I am. My grandmother knew the rule was unfair, so she respectfully refused to accept it. You have a good day now. At 11 years old, I went to Buffalo, New York with my uncle. There, I was impressed that black and white people worked together and even lived next door to each other. When I got back home, I realized that everyone didn't have the same chance at the American dream. Thankfully, there were other ways for me to see what the world had to offer. At my school library, I found magazines and newspapers with black leaders who inspired me. My dear children, read everything. Librarian Corrine Harvey. At 15, my life changed when I learned about Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and Rosa Parks. They inspired me to get into trouble, good trouble, necessary trouble, which means standing up against unfair treatment. Soon enough, I did just that. Since our town library was for whites only, I went inside and politely said, "I'd like to apply for a library card, please." When they refused, I circulated a petition around school. We never got a response, but that petition was a start, an action, and now I wanted to do more. During college, I finally got to meet my hero, Dr. King. I also met Jim Lawson, who would turn my world around. He taught a workshop on nonviolence using methods developed by Gandhi. It's called civil disobedience. It's how you change an evil system without violence. We must use passive resistance. What's that? Love. We'll use love in peaceful ways to change what's unfair in society. Right there, I knew that this is what I was meant for. Every Tuesday night in church, we practiced our nonviolent strategies. If someone screamed at you, you looked straight ahead and never dreamed of hitting or screaming back. Sometimes it's hard to keep calm. To do it, I try to remember that all people have the capacity for good. When you show your enemy love, it makes you a better human being. Our first trial run was at a department store. My whole life I was told I couldn't use the library or drink at the fountain or eat in the restaurant. I hated those rules, but I'd always followed them, until now. It's store policy not to serve colored people here. I was nervous, but I didn't let it stop me. Peacefully, calmly, I sat down. Eventually, we left without incident. A week later, we repeated it. Word began to spread. Soon, 4 students started a new sit-in in Greensboro, North Carolina. That grew to 10 students, then 85. In Nashville, our protest grew bigger as well. What started as a small sit-in was becoming a movement. Ma'am, may we be served? We don't serve your kind here. It wasn't easy. Sometimes people attacked us. On this day, we were sent to jail. We told you can't be in those seats. We shall overcome. Stop singing. But no matter how violent people got, we stayed true to our rules. Be friendly. Be courteous. Remember love and nonviolence. We shall overcome. I said stop singing. It was my first arrest. It wouldn't be my last. When people bombed our lawyer's house, we kept calm, and we marched. It was the first mass march for civil rights that anyone had seen at such a scale. We marched in silence, Black and white protesters together. Soon after, Nashville became the first big southern city to give Black people the rights we deserved and let everyone sit together. But there was still so much work to do. We protested movie theaters that wouldn't sell tickets to Black people. 1 ticket, please. I can't serve you. We held freedom rides, protesting bus companies that wouldn't allow Black people on board. Each time, they called us names. Each time, they came at us with violence. Each time, they threw us in jail. But we never lost our calm, and we never ever stopped fighting for what was right. The question people ask me more than any other is simply, how do you do it? How do you let someone scream at you, hit you, yet you never raise your hand in self-defense? The answer is, I have faith. That doesn't mean it's easy. In fact, it's hard. But having faith means you believe in something so deeply, you'll figure out how to make a way out of no way. Strength like that can't be ignored. People joined us from around the country. Pastors, rabbis, teachers, all types of people. All of them making us stronger than ever. We need to march with them. That's not fair. We need to march. We should have our own freedom rides. We should go there and march. What do you want? Freedom? You could feel it. More change was coming. By 1963, 1 million Americans held their own protests. 2 men named A. Philip Randolph and Bayard Rustin organized a peaceful march in Washington, D.C. At 23 years old, I was the 6th speaker. I was so nervous. My voice trembled at first, and then, to those who have said, be patient and wait, we must say that we cannot be patient. We do not want our freedom gradually, but we want to be free now. After the March on Washington, a new law, the Civil Rights Act, was passed, but it didn't include enough protections for voting rights. Black people were still being stopped from voting. To protest, 600 activists in Selma, Alabama, planned to walk 54 miles to the state capital of Montgomery. The governor said he would stop us. You know they're going to attack us. I know, but people want to march. We can't let them march alone. We walked 2 by 2, many of the people coming straight from church. When we got to the Edmund Pettus Bridge, a wall of state troopers blocked our way. Can you swim? No. Well, neither can I, but we might have to. This is an unlawful assembly. You have 2 minutes to turn around. Going forward would have led to violence. So I turned to my friend. We should kneel and pray, Hosea. Troopers, advance! I was the first to be hit. They knocked us down. They hit us hard. They sprayed us with a gas that stung our eyes. We remained peaceful, but we didn't make it across. That day was named Bloody Sunday. People around the country saw the violence faced by protesters. It made them realize how poorly Black people were treated. That's not right. We need to march with them. 2 days later, while I was recuperating, Dr. King came. This time, there were 2,500 people trying to make it across the bridge. We will get to Montgomery. No, you won't. I promise you won't. Like before, we tried. Like before, we stayed peaceful. Like before, we didn't make it across. Did that stop us? Not a chance. Our third try was on March 21st, 1965. Now we had 8,000 people. Together we marched for 5 days. My injuries were so bad they had to drive me home each night. It still didn't stop me. I marched 7 miles on the first day, 16 on the second, 11 on the third, 16 on the fourth, and then 6 miles on the final day. Check out the crowd. Black, white, Asian, Native American, Christian, Jewish, all standing together. I marched in the rain. I marched with my injuries. I marched and the whole world saw, including the White House. President Johnson sent in troops to keep us safe. We shall overcome. Eventually, we reached Montgomery, Alabama. Soon after, a new law, the Voting Rights Act, was passed and the voting rules began to change. But my work? It was just beginning. There's a time to march and there's a time to run. To change the laws, I needed to make the laws. In 1986, I was elected to the U.S. Congress, the second Black person in Georgia to ever win. I was arrested 5 times as a congressperson too, protesting whenever I thought people were being treated unfairly. My life is proof. Protests can change the world. In my life, I was told to stay out of trouble, to stay quiet, to stay out of the way. That's definitely the easier path. But when you or someone else is being treated unfairly, it's not the right path. If something isn't right or just or fair, you need to say something, do something. Help those who need it. Make some noise and move your feet. Freedom only comes when people take action. Remember how his local library denied him a library card? John Lewis finally went back there in 1998 to sign his own book. The librarians celebrated him by finally giving him a library card. One of the great things he did in Congress was to help establish the National Museum of African American History and Culture. Go visit. In 2011, he was awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom, the nation's highest civilian honor. During the civil rights movement, a man named Elwyn Wilson attacked John Lewis. In 2009, he was so embarrassed of his racism, he asked for forgiveness, the only one to ever do so. Without hesitation, John Lewis accepted his apology. I have faith in my dreams. I have faith in this country. I have faith that we can make a way out of no way. And in that, I am unshakable. We are one people. We are one family. And now it's time for you to do your part. Stand up, speak up, be prepared to march. It's your turn now. I am John Lewis. I am never afraid to get in good trouble. And here we have a timeline of some of John Lewis's life. If you want to pause the video and look over some of those. The first picture is a picture of John Lewis. And the second picture is a picture of him while he was marching during the Voting Rights March movement in Selma in 1965. The third picture at the top is Martin Luther King Jr. in the middle. I have another video on him if you would like to check that out. And John Lewis is on the far right. He's the last one. And that's also a picture from the Voting Rights March in 1965. And the last picture on the bottom is a picture of John Lewis when he did one of his sit-ins. And he was actually being pulled from a lunch counter during his protest in Nashville in 1960.
Hey, do you want to watch another video? Click right here. Click it, click it. Watch the next